Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is the 1943 Cleveland Indians AL MLB baseball season. Again, the Tribe was playing in the American League, the junior circuit of Major League Baseball. Home games were played at League Park on the east side of Cleveland and at Cleveland Municipal Stadium downtown. The Tribe had a strong year in 1943. They finished in third place with a record of 82-71, 11 games over 500, winning percentage of .536, 15 and a half games out of first. The first place team was the New York Yankees, 98-56, winning percentage of .636. Second place, the Washington Senators, 84-69, 13 and a half games out of first. Third place, the Cleveland Indians, 82-71. Fourth place, the Chicago White Sox, 82-72. Fifth place, the Detroit Tigers, 78-76. Sixth place, the St. Louis Browns, 72-80. Seventh place, the Boston Red Sox, 68-84. And in eighth and last place, Connie Mack's Philadelphia Athletics, who were 49-105, winning percentage of .318, 49 games out of first. Again, this was the Second World War was raging. The United States was heavily involved, and Baseball Commissioner Judge Landis made a ruling that spring training had to be up north as a war sacrifice, and so the Tribe trained at Purdue. The Tribe had spring training at Purdue University in West Lafayette, Indiana. So it was kind of tough. It was indoors, in indoor gyms. The Tribe lost Les Fleming to a military job. There were 6 All-Stars on the Tribe in 1943, including Jim Bagby Jr., Al Smith, Lou Boudreau, Ken Keltner, Jeff Heath, and Buddy Rosar. Tribe had a fast start and was in second place into August. With the Second World War raging, the public was really focused on the war. There were less than 14,000 fans at opening day at the stadium on April 21st. The next day, the League Park opener only had 2,500 fans. On August 18th at League Park, the Tribe swept a doubleheader against the New York Yankees, and Jeff Heath had 7 RBIs and a home run in each game. At the start of the 1943 season, 200-plus MLB players were in the U.S. military, including Joe DiMaggio, Ted Williams, Hank Greenberg, and Bob Feller. Again, American President Franklin D. Roosevelt gave the green light for MLB baseball to go on in 1943 despite the Second World War. Baseball author John Klima wrote, quote, "Fighting men around the world rejoiced when they heard the news." So it was basically it was very helpful for morale for the troops fighting against Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan to be able to follow MLB in 1943. Attendance, again, was pretty low for Tribe games in 1943, a total of 438,894, down 20,000 from the previous year, an average of 5,737 per game. I'm reading a fine book. The title is Jim Thorpe, a biography by William A. Cook, 2011. Jim Thorpe played pro football for the Canton Bulldogs, Cleveland Indians, Marion, Ohio Oorang Indians, the Rock Island Independents, New York Giants, Tampa Cardinals, and Chicago Cardinals between 1915 and 1928. He's in the Pro Football and College Football's Halls of Fame. At the 1912 Olympics in Stockholm, Sweden, Thorpe won gold medals in the decathlon and pentathlon. He also played MLB baseball between 1913 and 1919 for the New York Giants, Cincinnati Reds, and Boston Braves. And he was a Sac and Fox American Indian. Very interesting. Now, Jack Graney, again, was the Tribe radio broadcaster on WHK radio station. Graney played for the Cleveland Naps and Cleveland Indians in 1908 and from 1910 to 1922, and was the Tribe radio broadcaster from 1932 to 1953. Jack Graney. Now, the coaching staff included a new guy, Del Baker, who was the Tribe coach in 1943 and 1944. Baker was born in 1892 in Sherwood, Oregon, and died in 1973 in Olmos Park, Texas at age 81. During his playing career, he batted .209 with 22 RBIs. He played for the Detroit Tigers from 1914 to 1916. He was the manager in 1940 of the Tigers when they won the American League title. He was a premier sign stealer of his era. In the First World War, he was in the U.S. Navy. Baker was a manager for the Beaumont Exporters in the minor leagues, and in 1932 won the Texas state title. He managed Schoolboy Rowe, Pete Fox, and Hank Greenberg. In 1933, he was a coach for the Tigers and interim manager. In 1935, he won a World Series title as a coach with the Tigers. In 1936, Tiger manager Mickey Cochran had a nervous breakdown during the season, and Baker was an interim manager for a while. Also, in 1937, Mickey Cochran, player manager, had a fractured skull hit by the pitch, and again, Baker was the interim manager. 1938, Baker became the manager in the middle of the season till the end of the season, also into 1939 and 1940. In 1942, he was fired as manager of the Detroit Tigers at the end of the season. He also coached the Boston Red Sox from 1945 to 48. In the minor leagues, he was a manager for the Sacramento Solons from 1949 to 1951. And in 1960, he was the Red Sox interim manager from June 8th to 12th and had a record of 2-5. During his career as a manager, he was .419 and .360 for a winning percentage of .538. Del Baker. Bert Schotten was back as coach, and Schotten was a Tribe coach between 1942 and 1945. Bert Schotten. George Suss was a player coach. He was a catcher. He batted once, did not have a hit in 3 games. Suss was a Tribe player coach between 1941 and 1944, and just a plain regular coach from 1945 to 1949. George Suss. Now, Lou Boudreau was the player manager again. Boudreau was the starting shortstop, batted .286 with 154 hits. He scored 69 runs, 32 doubles, 7 triples, 3 home runs, 67 RBIs, 4 stolen bases, 90 walks in 152 games. Boudreau was a Tribe player between 1938 and 1941, and a Tribe player manager between 1942 and 1950. Lou Boudreau. Buddy Rosar was the starting catcher. Rosar batted .283 with 108 hits. He scored 53 runs, 17 doubles, a triple, a home run, 41 RBIs, 33 walks in 115 games. Rosar was born in 1914 in Buffalo, New York, and died in 1994 in Rochester, New York at age 79. For his career, he batted .261 with 18 home runs and 367 RBIs. Rosar played for the New York Yankees, Cleveland Indians, Philadelphia Athletics, and Boston Red Sox between 1939 and 1951. He was a 5-time All-Star in 1942 with the Yankees, 1943 with the Tribe, and from 1946 to 48 with the Athletics. He won a World Series title in 1941 with the Yankees. Rosar was an excellent defensive catcher, set an MLB record with consecutive games without an error. He's one of the 3 catchers in MLB history to have at least 100 games in a season without an error in that season. 1937 with the Newark Bears, he won a title in the minor leagues. In 1938 with Newark, he batted .387 and won the batting title. In 1941, he hit for the Psycho with the Yankees in a game against the Tribe. In 1942, he was a second-string catcher for the Yankees behind Bill Dickey, but was an all-star because of his outstanding play. In 1943, Rosar led the American League catchers in assists and throwing out base runners attempting to steal bases. 1946 with the Athletics, he had a fielding percentage of 1,000, which continued into 1947 with 147 consecutive errorless games, which was a record later broken. For his career, he threw out 54.81 of attempted base stealers, third all-time behind Roy Campanella and Gabby Hartnett. He caught 2 no-hitters in his career. In the minor leagues, Rosar played for the Wheeling Stogies, Binghamton Triplets, Newark Tars, Newark Bears, and he was of French-Canadian descent. Buddy Rosar. Mickey Rocco was the new first baseman. Rocco batted .240 with 97 hits. He scored 43 runs, 14 doubles, 4 triples, 5 home runs, 46 RBIs, a stolen base, 51 walks, and 108 games. Rocco was born in 1916 in St. Paul, Minnesota, and died in St. Paul in 1997 at age 81. For his career, he batted .258 with 30 home runs and 186 RBIs. Rocco's career was with the Cleveland Indians from 1943 to 1946. He was in the minor leagues for 8 years before his MLB career and for 6 years afterward. His parents were Italian immigrants. He was a high school violinist concertmaster and considered a professional music career. September 9th, 1945, with the Tribe at Yankee Stadium in a doubleheader against the Yankees, which the Tribe swept. Rocco had 2 singles, 2 doubles, and 2 home runs, which was the highlight of his career. 1947, he was in the Pacific Coast League. He was on the All-Star team there. In 1949, with the San Francisco Steels, he batted .276 with 25 home runs and 114 RBIs. After he retired from baseball, he worked for the Distillers Distributing Company and was a coach in the American Legion Baseball. In the minor leagues, Rocco played for the Buffalo Bisons, Dallas Steers, Knoxville Smokies, Minot Mallards, Nashville Vols, Portland Beavers, Winnipeg Royals, Portsmouth Pirates, and the Seattle Rainiers. Mickey Rocco. Ray Mack was back at second base. Mack batted .220 with 120 hits, 56 runs scored, 25 doubles, 2 triples, 7 home runs, 62 RBIs, 8 stolen bases, 47 walks in 153 games. And Mack was with Cleveland from 1938 to 1946. Ray Mack. Ken Keltner was back at third base. Keltner batted .260 with 111 hits. He scored 47 runs, 31 doubles, 3 triples, 4 home runs, 39 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 36 walks in 110 games. Keltner was with Cleveland from 1937 to 1944 and from 1946 to 1949. Ken Keltner. Jeff Heath was in left field. Heath batted .274 with 116 hits. He scored 58 runs, 22 doubles, 6 triples, 18 home runs, 79 RBIs, 5 stolen bases, 63 walks in 118 games. And Heath was with Cleveland from 1936 to 1945. Jeff Heath. Oris Hockett was in center field. Hockett batted .276 with 166 hits, 70 runs, 33 doubles, 4 triples, 2 home runs, 51 RBIs, 13 stolen bases, 45 walks in 141 games. And Hockett was with Cleveland from 1941 to 1944. Oris Hockett. Roy Cullenbine was in right field. Cullenbine was a new player. He batted .289 with 141 hits, 66 runs, 24 doubles, 4 triples, 8 home runs, 56 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, 96 walks in 138 games. Cullenbine was born in 1913 in Nashville, Tennessee, and died in 1991 in Detroit, Michigan at age 77. For his career, he batted .276 with 110 home runs and 599 RBIs. Really good. Cullenbine played for the Detroit Tigers, Brooklyn Dodgers, St. Louis Browns, Washington Senators, New York Yankees, and Cleveland Indians between 1938 and 1947. He's a 2-time All-Star in 1941 with the Browns and in 1944 with the Tribe. He won a World Series title in 1945 with the Tigers. He had a career-long ability to draw walks. He was among the American League leaders in walks from 1941 to 1947. He has the MLB record for most consecutive games with a walk, 22. His on-base percentage for his career was .408, 38th best in MLB history. At age 17, in 1930, he was the Detroit Tigers' bat boy. The minor leagues, Cullenbine played for the Shreveport Sports, Greenwood Chiefs, Fort Worth Cats, Beaumont Exporters, and Toledo Mud Hens. Roy Cullenbine. Now, the bench players included Hank Edwards, who played some outfield. Edwards batted .276 with 82 hits. He scored 38 runs, 18 doubles, 6 triples, 3 home runs, 28 RBIs, 4 stolen bases, 30 walks in 92 games. Edwards was with Cleveland from 1941 to 1943 and from 1946 to 1949. So the next 2 years he was serving in the U.S. military in the Second World War. Hank Edwards. Rusty Peters played some third base. Peters batted .219 with 47 hits. He scored 22 runs, 6 doubles, 2 triples, a home run, 19 RBIs, a stolen base, 18 walks in 79 games. And Peters was with Cleveland from 1940 to 1944 and in 1946. Rusty Peters. Gene DeSantos was a spare catcher. DeSantos batted .205 with 38 hits. He scored 14 runs, 6 doubles, a triple, 19 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 11 walks in 68 games. And DeSantos was with Cleveland from 1941 to 1943 and in 1945. So in 1944, he was in the U.S. military in the Second World War. Gene DeSantos. Otto Denning was a spare catcher. He played a little first base as well. He batted .240 with 31 hits. Scored 8 runs, 6 doubles, 13 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, 5 walks in 37 games. Denning was Denning was with Cleveland from 1942 to 1943, and this was the end of his MLB career. However, he continued in the minor leagues as a player and a manager until 1951. Otto Denning. Pat Seary was a new outfielder. Seary batted .222 with 16 hits. He scored 8 runs, 3 doubles, a home run, 5 RBIs, 4 walks, 19 strikeouts in 26 games. Seary was born in 1923 in Wilburton, Oklahoma, and died in 1986 in Jennings, Missouri at age 63. For his career, he batted .224 with 86 home runs and 261 RBIs. Seary played for the Cleveland Indians and Chicago White Sox between 1943 and 1948. He hit 4 home runs in one game on July 18th in 1948 for the White Sox, becoming the 5th player in MLB history to do so. He was a high school football player and played fullback and also played baseball. He led the American League with strikeouts 4 times. He got the nickname the People's Choice for his hitting ability and willingness to challenge brick walls in the outfield. Seary had a tendency to be overweight, and one of his nicknames was Fat Pat. 1945 with the Tribe, in a game in July against the Yankees, he had 3 home runs and 8 RBIs. 4th Tribe player to have 3 home runs in a game. 1946, he hit a home run into the upper deck at the stadium, becoming the 2nd Tribe player to do so after Jeff Heath. After the 1947 season, Tribe owner at the time, Bill Veeck, told Seary he needed to be on a strict diet, needed to lose 35 pounds to stay on the team. 1950, for the Colorado Springs Sox in the Western League, Seary broke the league record with 30 home runs and hit a total of 44. 1951, with the Sky Sox, he hit 2 grand slams and had 9 RBIs in a game, which was a record. After he retired, he was a janitor for the public schools in St. Louis, Missouri. He died of lung cancer at age 63. In the minor leagues, Seary played for the Los Angeles Angels, Memphis Chickasaws, Newark Bears, Tampa Smokers, and the Wilkes-Barre Barons. My father, John S. Ray, loved telling this. One of his favorite stories had to do with Seary, and he would reenact. He enjoyed reenacting what happened with the broadcast by Jack Graney. My father would say, imitating Graney. And there's a fly ball to left field. There's a fly ball to left field. Pat Seary is racing in, and it's over his head. My dad loved that story. Seary runs in for the ball. It goes over his head. I called it back in the 70s. I called up Pete Franklin's sports line on the radio and wanted to tell that imitation, but Pete cut me off. Pat Seary. Gene Woodling was a new outfielder. Woodling batted .320 with 8 hits and 25 at-bats. He scored 5 runs, 2 doubles, a triple, a home run, 5 RBIs, a walk in 8 games. Woodling was born in 1922 in Akron, Ohio, and died in 2001 in Barberton, Ohio, at age 78. For his career, he batted .284 with 147 home runs and 830 RBIs. Really good. Woodling played for the Cleveland Indians, Pittsburgh Pirates, New York Yankees, Baltimore Orioles, Washington Senators, and New York Mets between 1943 and 1962. Wow. He was an All-Star in 1959. He won 6 World Series titles from 1949 to 1953 with the Yankees, and in 1966 as a coach with the Orioles. 1944 and 45, he was in the U.S. Navy in the Second World War in the Pacific. For 4 times in the minor leagues, he won batting titles. 1953, he led the league with a .429 on-base percentage. From 1951 to 1953, Woodling in those World Series, Woodling had a solo home run in each of those 3 World Series. 1952, he had the first pinch triple in a World Series. 1954, he was involved in a record trade involving 17 players between the Orioles and Yankees, which included Woodling. In 5 World Series, Woodling batted .318, really something. He was a coach for the Orioles from 1964 to 67, Baltimore Orioles. In the minor leagues, Woodling played for the Mansfield Braves, Newark Bears, San Francisco Seals, and Wilkes-Barre Barons. What a career for Gene Woodling. Jimmy Grant played some third base. Grant batted .136 with 3 hits and 22 at-bats. He scored 3 runs, had 2 doubles, a home run, 4 walks in 15 games. Grant was born in 1918 in Racine, Wisconsin, and died in 1970 in Rochester, Rochester, Minnesota at age 51. For his career, he batted .246 with 5 home runs and 36 RBIs. Grant played for the Chicago White Sox and Cleveland Indians between 1942 and 1944. He was also, in the minor leagues, he played for the Birmingham Barons, Gadsden Pilots, Grand Forks Chiefs, Meridian Peps, Minot Mallards, Raleigh Capitals, Richmond Colts, Sacramento Solons, Selma Cloverleafs, and the St. Paul Saints. Jimmy Grant. Eddie Turchin played some infield, third base, and shortstop. He batted .231 with 3 hits and 14 at-bats. Scored 4 runs, had an RBI, 3 walks in 11 games. Turchin was born in 1917 in New York, New York, and died in 1982 at age 64. His MLB career was just with the Cleveland Indians in 1943. Turchin was Jewish and went to Brooklyn College. Eddie Turchin. Frank Doljak played some outfield. Doljak batted 7 times, did not have a hit. He had a walk, struck out twice in 3 games. Doljak was born in 1907 in Cleveland, Ohio, and died in 1948 in Cleveland at age 40. For his career, he batted .269 with 9 home runs and 85 RBIs. Doljak played for the Detroit Tigers from 1930 to 1934, and with the Cleveland Indians in 1943. He started playing in the Cleveland Sandlots and won a Babe Ruth home run trophy in Class D in 1928. Played in the 1934 World Series with the Tigers. He excelled in basketball. He was an expert swimmer and loved to hunt in northern Michigan. He was the manager of boxer Lloyd Marshall, who was a light heavyweight boxer and is in the International Hall of Fame. Doljak died at age 40 because of a weakened heart from childhood rheumatic fever. Frank Doljak. Jim McDonald was another catcher. McDonald batted once, did not have a hit. He scored a run, 2 walks, a strikeout in 2 games. McDonald was born in 1922 in Gagetown, Michigan, and died in 1993 at age 70. For his career, he batted .211 with 12 RBIs in 50 games. And McDonald's career was just with the Cleveland Indians from 1943 to 1945. Jim McDonald. Now the pitching staff, the ace pitcher for the Tribe was Bob Feller, and he still was not with the team and did not play because he was in the U.S. Navy during the 1943 season. During Feller's career, he won a total of 266 games. And Terry Pluto, the Cleveland sports writer and historian, estimate that because of the years he lost in the Second World War, he lost a chance to win 350 games. And Feller told Pluto, quote, "I don't worry much about that. I just know we did the right thing. We won the biggest game for our country." And in Bob Feller's biography, he wrote, quote, autobiography, quote, "One of the worst scares for the men of the Alabama," that's the battleship, "didn't involve combat itself. It was a hurricane. I've been in storms before, but nothing like the one that swept across the South Pacific late in 1943. We were chasing the Japanese fleet, and there seemed like hundreds of our ships on the high seas in hot pursuit when the storm struck. The hurricane lasted for several days with winds of 180 miles an hour and gusts up to 210. 3 of our destroyers sank because they could not pull alongside the battleships to refuel. They ran out of fuel and couldn't steer their way through the storm. They simply rolled over into the ocean while they were adrift. Planes were blown off the decks of our carriers, and the decks themselves were seriously damaged. We lost hundreds of men in that storm. Many of them drowned, and others were eaten by sharks. The tide of the war was changing by then. The United States was going to win the war in the Pacific and in Europe, too, but nature was aiding the enemy for those several terrifying days. The saddest part of the war came not in combat, but back in Iowa. Dad died in January 1943. He had fought that cancer for 6 years. While I was at home on emergency leave for the funeral, I took a walk alone out to the wheat field. I looked around Oakview Park and saw it all again. Dad and me building it with our own hands and hearts 11 years before. I could still see us out there playing against the older teams from Des Moines, teaming up with my pals to beat those guys. Mom fixing food for the players to eat between games if there was a doubleheader, and Dad cheering me on in his quiet way, always giving 100% for his boy Bob. Bob Feller married Virginia Winther January 10, 1943, in Waukegan, Illinois. Soup Campbell was his best man, and Raleigh Hemsley and Lou Boudreaux attended the wedding. Virginia was quoted as saying she could only cook fudge. "I can't cook anything else." And then Feller said, "That's all right, honey. By the time I come out of the Navy, I'll be able to digest anything." Bob Feller played for the Tribe from 1936 to 1941 and from 1945 to 1956 and was a goodwill ambassador for the Tribe until the end of his life. Bob Feller. Jim Bagby was the ace of the staff who actually played for Cleveland. He was 17-14 with an ERA of 3.10, 36 games, 33 starts, 16 complete games, 3 shutouts, a save, 273 innings pitched, and 70 strikeouts. Bagby batted .268 with 30 hits. He scored 7 runs, had a double, a triple, 11 RBIs, a stolen base, a walk, and struck out 10 times in 41 games. Bagby was with Cleveland from 1941 to 1945, and his father, Jim Bagby Sr., was a hero on the 1920 World Series champions Cleveland Indians. Jim Bagby Jr. Al Smith was 17-7. Really good. An ERA of 2.55, 29 games, 27 starts, 14 complete games, 3 shutouts, a save, 208 and a third innings pitched, and 72 strikeouts. Smith batted .206 with 14 hits. He scored 3 runs, had a double, a triple, 5 RBIs, 9 walks, and struck out 14 times. And Smith was with Cleveland from 1940 to 1945. Al Smith. Allie Reynolds was 11-12 with an ERA of 2.99, 34 games, 21 starts, 11 complete games, 3 shutouts, 3 saves, 198 and 2/3 innings pitched, and 151 strikeouts. Really good. Reynolds batted .149 with 10 hits. He scored 6 runs, 3 RBIs, 5 walks, struck out 14 times in 39 games. And Reynolds was with Cleveland from 1942 to 1946. Allie Reynolds. Vern Kennedy was 10-7 with an ERA of 2.45, 28 games, 17 starts, 8 complete games, a shutout, 146 and 2/3 innings pitched, and 63 strikeouts. Kennedy batted .231 with 12 hits. He scored 8 runs, had a triple, and struck out 4 times in 38 games. And Kennedy was with Cleveland from 1942 to 1944. Vern Kennedy. Mel Harder was 8-7 with an ERA of 3.06. 19 games, 18 starts, 6 complete games, a save, 135 and a third innings pitched, and 40 strikeouts. Harder batted .213 with 10 hits. He scored 2 runs, had a double, a triple, 4 RBIs, walked twice, and struck out 11 times. Mel Harder was a Tribe player between 1928 and 1947, and a Tribe coach from 1948 to 1963. Mel Harder. Now, the bullpen included relief pitcher Joe Having, who was 1-1. An ERA of 2.75, 30 games, 1 start, 9 saves, 72 innings pitched, and 34 strikeouts. Having batted .071 with 1 hit. He scored 14 runs, 3 doubles, struck out twice in 30 games. Having was with Cleveland from 1937 to 1938, and from 1941 to 1944. Joe Having. Jack Salveson was 5-3 with an ERA of 3.35. 23 games, 11 starts, 4 complete games, 3 shutouts, and 3 saves. 86 innings pitched and 24 strikeouts. Salveson batted .231 with 6 hits. He scored 2 runs, had a double, a home run, 2 RBIs, a walk, and a strikeout. Salveson was born in 1914 in Fullerton, California, and died in 1974 in Norwalk, California at age 60. For his career, he was 9-9 with an ERA of 3.99 and 85 strikeouts. Salveson pitched for the New York Giants, Pittsburgh Pirates, Chicago White Sox, and Cleveland Indians between 1933 and 1945. He pitched in the minor leagues from 1936 to 1942 and from 1946 to 1953. In the Pacific Coast League, he won 204 games. In 1942, he won 24 games for the Oakland Oaks. He's known for his pitching efficiency. In one game, he had a complete game that only lasted an hour and 20 minutes. Another complete game, he only threw 54 pitches. Lefty O'Doul called Salveson, quote, the great conservationist. Salveson appeared in the movie Pride of the Yankees in 1942, portraying a pitcher who hit Lou Gehrig, played by Gary Cooper, with a pitch. Jack Salveson. Chubby Dean was 5-5 with an ERA of 4.50. 17 games, 9 starts, 3 complete games, 76 innings pitched, and 29 strikeouts. Dean batted .196 with 9 hits. He scored 2 runs, had 5 RBIs, 6 walks, struck out twice in 41 games. Dean was with Cleveland from 1941 to 1943. This was the end of his MLB career. From 1943 to 46, he was in the U.S. military in the Second World War. Chubby Dean. Mike Namick was another relief pitcher. Namick's record was 4-4 with an ERA of 2.30. 29 games, 4 starts, 2 saves, 62 and 2/3 innings pitched, and 41 strikeouts. Namick batted .188 with 3 hits. He scored a run and struck out 4 times. Namick was with Cleveland from 1939 to 1940 and from 1943 to 1944. Namick was 6 foot 8 inches tall and weighed 225 pounds and was deemed too tall for the U.S. military and was rejected and classified 4F. And he reacted, quote, "Do you mean to tell me that I have to go back and tell everyone I'm still 4F?" Mike Namick. Pete Center was another relief pitcher. Center was 1-2 with an ERA of 2.76. 24 games, 1 start, 1 save, 42 and 1/3 innings pitched, and 10 strikeouts. Center batted 5 times, did not have a hit, and struck out twice. He was with Cleveland from 1942 to 1943, and from 1945 to 1946. In 1944, he was in the U.S. Army Air Forces. Pete Center. Ray Pote was another relief pitcher. Pote was 2-5 with an ERA of 4.40, 17 games, 4 starts, a complete game, 45 innings pitched, and 31 strikeouts. Pote batted .154 with 2 hits. He had an RBI and struck out 9 times. Pote was with Cleveland from 1942 to 1944. Ray Pote. Al Milnar was 1-3 with an ERA of 8.08. 16 games, 6 starts, 39 innings pitched, and 12 strikeouts. Milnar batted .211 with 4 hits. He scored 2 runs, had a double, and struck out 6 times. Milnar was with Cleveland in 1936 and from 1938 to 1943. This was the end of his time in Cleveland. His MLB career continued until 1946. Al Milnar. Ed Kleeman was 0-1 with an ERA of 1.00. 1 game, 1 start, a complete game, 9 innings pitched, 1 earned run allowed, and 2 strikeouts. Kleeman batted 3 times, did not have a hit, and struck out twice. He was born in 1918 in Norwood, Ohio, and died in 1979 in Homosassa, Florida, at age 61. For his career, he was 26-28 with an ERA of 3.49 and 130 strikeouts. Kleeman pitched for the Cleveland Indians, Washington Senators, Chicago White Sox, and Philadelphia Athletics from 1943 to 1950. He won a World Series title in 1948 with the Cleveland Indians. His nickname was Specs. In the 1948 World Series, he pitched in 1 game, gave up 3 runs, and did not record an out. Ed Kleeman. Paul Calvert had no decisions and an ERA of 4.32, 5 games, 8 1/3 innings pitched, and 2 strikeouts. He batted once and did not have a hit. Calvert was with Cleveland from 1942 to 1945. Paul Calvert. And finally, Steve Gromek had no decisions and an ERA of 9.00, 3 games, 4 innings pitched, and 4 strikeouts. Gromek batted 1,000. He had 2 hits and 2 at-bats and scored 2 runs and had an RBI. Gromek was with Cleveland from 1941 to 1953. Steve Gromek. After the regular season, the World Series was played. The American League champions, New York Yankees, defeated the National League champions, St. Louis Cardinals, 4-1. Hall of Famers in the series for the Yankees included Joe McCarthy, manager, Bill Dickey, Joe Gordon. And for the Cardinals, Billy Southworth, the manager, Enos Slaughter, and Stan Musial. Yankee players who were not in the World Series because of military service included Joe DiMaggio, Phil Rizzuto, and Red Ruffing. And this was the 43 World Series was the first time a highlight film was created as gifts for the American troops in the Second World War. Now, the MVPs for 43 and for the American League, it was Spud Chandler of the New York Yankees, and in the National League, Stan Musial of the St. Louis Cardinals. So that's the story of the 1943 World's Cleveland Indians. They had a good year, a year to be proud of. God bless the fellows who played for the Cleveland Indians in 1943 and everyone else associated with the team, including the fans, especially the Spanish-American War veterans, First World War veterans, and Second World War veterans. Captains of the Cuyahoga, lovers of Lake Erie, Terminal Tower Power, fans of the Free Stamp Statue and the Fountain of Eternal Life, Euclid Avenue Electricity, Severance Hall Stalwarts, Cleveland Museum of Art enthusiasts, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Museum rebels, Christmas Story House happy people, Museum of Contemporary Art maniacs, Cleveland Botanical Garden goers, Old Arcade admirers, Playhouse Square seers, Settlers Landing Park purists, Western Reserve Historical Society wonders, First Energy Stadium friends, Progressive Field pals, Quicken Loans Arena enthusiasts, Tribe, Browns, Cavs, Monsters, Gladiators, and Fusion Rule, Cleveland, City of Champions. Cleveland is the best location in the nation on the north coast of America. New York is the Big Apple. Cleveland is a plum. Before you know it, it'll be opening day 2019. This is our year. Go Tribe. You might consider checking out our website, Adventures in History with Peter J. Ray at peterjray.com. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.